Welcome to the Old Bob Show, located in beautiful Westby amidst the scenic ridges and coulees of western Wisconsin. And now here's your program host, Bob Burrell, along with his special guests.
And so in our people with Down syndrome, it's even more important to diagnose that thyroid problem.
Hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Old Bob Show. Unfortunately, Bob is not with us today, but this is Dan Kapanke pinch hitting for Bob. We have a great show for you today, very informative, and we have a special guest, Rachel Pierce from West Salem, and we're going to be talking about Down syndrome today. So welcome, Rachel, and tell us a little bit about how you got involved with Down syndrome.
Well, Down syndrome affected our life 7.5 years ago when my daughter Ruby Ann was born. She arrived with Down syndrome, and much to our surprise, because we didn't have a prenatal diagnosis. However, she also had severe pulmonary hypertension. So at first, we weren't as concerned with Down syndrome as we were with getting her breathing. She spent 28 days in the NICU at Mayo Hospital, and then we brought her home. It was during that time that we started to learn more about Down syndrome. Mm-hmm. It was totally new to us before then.
Well, we're here today to talk to our audience and inform them about Down syndrome. And recently, in La Crosse, there was a walk for Down syndrome. Tell us about that a little bit.
We just had our 12th annual Down Syndrome Awareness Walk, and it actually took place at a new location this year. It was at the Onalaska Legion, and it took place on Saturday. We had the most walkers and raised the most money that we've ever raised. So it was just a huge turnout. We also had contests to see who could get the most walkers with their team and to raise the most money for their team, which was amazing because it's also been the second year that we've had a free walk. So a free walk was awesome because I have encouraged that for the last couple of years because we just want to have awareness. We want to get as many people down to encourage our friends and family who have Down syndrome as possible and not have the price be prohibitive to anybody. So we had over 800 walkers, we're estimating, and raised over $20,000 before the walk even began. And so we had more donations come in that day. They're still coming in, and it was just a great time of family and friends coming out to celebrate the abilities of their people and their families with Down syndrome.
What a great thing, and again, it's to inform people. Tell us, you raised $20,000. What kind of, how do you spend that money, I guess, is what I want to ask.
All the money is spent locally here. There are family enrichment grants that are made available to all the families in the area who have a child with Down syndrome that they can use for something to enrich the life of their person and their family with Down syndrome. So it can be anywhere from speech therapy, music therapy, lessons in the community that they want to take, whether it's swimming lessons or dance lessons, horseback riding lessons, if it's videos or supplies that the family needs for their child, something to help them become more physically active or to do things, they can use those grants for whatever that they feel is necessary for them. It also provides money for workshops or seminars in the area for people to attend to learn more about Down syndrome, and all the money stays locally here. So a great chance, and it's our big fundraiser for the year, so it was a great success.
Okay, great. So tell us about the incidence of Down syndrome and the rate, if you will, and then as these children get older, tell us how they progress.
The incidence of Down syndrome can be 1 in every 600 to 800 live births, which is very common, you would expect. However, there aren't that many people around with Down syndrome. Unfortunately, there are too many that are aborted before they're actually born. A very sad statistic in America, there's over 90% aborted before they're born. However, in the last 4 years in our area alone, in the tri-state area, there have been over 24 babies born with Down syndrome just in our area, which I think is very exciting. And people think, well, what's going on there? And I just think, well, God's got an amazing plan, because it's the year that my daughter was born, there were about 8 to 10 other kids that were born that year as well within an 18-month period. And we have become such good friends with the parents and the families and have been able to share and be support for one another and just talk about things that as our kids are developing and what they're going through. That has just been amazing network of friends. And so these new families are experiencing the same thing, and it's just wonderful. It's nice for everybody.
That's awesome. So previously I've had, with Riverfront La Crosse, and I've had many interactions, many opportunities to interact with Down syndrome parents and children. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful experience. And so now they are in school, and like everybody else, they're not any different, and they learn, and it's just a wonderful thing to see. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, the Minnesota Down Syndrome Association has a slogan that says we're more alike than different, which is so true, because people with Down syndrome are really more alike the rest of us than they are different. The biggest thing is that they're going to be on their own time frame. And so I always encourage families and say, you know, you're going to bring that baby home, especially if they get a prenatal diagnosis. The unfortunate thing with that is sometimes too much research and study is done on their own. They find out too many things that are just overwhelming. And for instance, I met a mom a while ago, and she was worried about a certain number of things. And I said, you know, those are all the characteristics of somebody who has Down syndrome, but your baby isn't going to have all of those things. And once that baby's born and they place the baby in your arms, and you look at that baby and you just fall in love, and it doesn't matter. And you're just after, you know, the same kinds of things that you're after with any other child. You know, I always tell them that you're going to bring them home and they're going to eat, sleep, and you know, wet their diaper. You're going to love them up just like every other baby does. But as time goes on, you'll find out that they're going to be on their own time schedule. So they're going to be perhaps walking a little later. They're going to be doing certain developmental stages a little bit later than other typically developing children. And that's not bad. It's just different. It's just, you know, getting used to what their time schedule is going to be. And I tell all new families, I'm like, you know what? You just take them home, love them up, and they're going to tell you what they need when they need it. And you just give them all the love and support that you'd give all your other children, and they'll let you know what they're going to need. So it doesn't have to be scary or frightening. And you know, unfortunately, a lot of people get an image in their head of a child they knew growing up, or somebody that they knew when they were younger, and different myths or misconceptions come into their head. But once that baby is in your family and you treat them just like you would your other kids, you find out that, you know, you can do this. This isn't horrible. It's not scary, and it's just working with that extra chromosome. And we were somewhere the other day, and somebody said, "Oh, just be patient with us." And I said, "We have a child with Down syndrome. We know what patience is all about." Most of that has to do with the time frame, because we just do things a little slower. So
yeah, we. You know, I've got 12, 13 grandkids, and I think we have to be patient with all of kids, young kids, and Down syndrome kids are no different.
No.
It's just a great thing to be around. They're seem so happy and so loving. It's just great being around them.
Yeah, well, people tend to say, you know, your child has special needs if they have Down syndrome. But I have 5 kids, and every single one of my 5 kids has special needs, whether it's, you know, X, Y, or Z. They I mean, us as adults, we all have special needs. We all have things that we like or don't like. And so, yeah, one of the misconceptions or myths that there can be about people with Down syndrome tends to be that they're always happy. You know, people will come up to me in the store and go, "Oh, I bet she's always happy." And I go, "Well, no, she actually has all the same range of emotions that you and I do. She gets stubborn, and she gets frustrated, and she likes to wrestle around with her brothers on the floor, and she gets angry, and she's just not always happy." You know, that's kind of one of those myths. Or they'll say, "Oh, she has such an angel face. I bet she's just pleasant and happy all the time." I'm like, "Well, you should have seen her a couple minutes ago before we got in here." So that's not true either. But you know, they're, like, again, more like all of us than the rest of us.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your group in West Salem, Children of the Heart. Is that specific to West Salem or in La Crosse County? Or
actually, a year ago, the name of our group was Children of the Heart, and a year ago we merged with a statewide organization called the Down Syndrome Association of Wisconsin. So now our name is the Down Syndrome Association of Wisconsin, Children of the Heart, Greater La Crosse area. Okay. We actually cover a 5-county range, all in western Wisconsin and even into Minnesota. And so we offer services to children in all of those counties. And so also being combined with the statewide group gives us access to their resources as well. So we have a great network throughout the whole state. The mission of the statewide organization is to make Wisconsin the best supported state for Down syndrome in the state, which is very exciting to be a part of, and to know that they're working so hard to bring whatever services and the best preventative therapies, different things that we can to our people here in Wisconsin.
You mentioned you had a walk recently, and you had a lot of participants. What other things do you do, and where the general public can get involved in helping with Down syndrome?
Well, we have different activities throughout the year. An exciting thing coming up in the spring is going to be a concert put on by a group called the Bazillions, which are a fun musical group. So they're going to be putting on a concert, which is going to be specifically funds raised to make more speech therapy available to our kids, because speech therapy is so vital. some of the characteristics of Down syndrome are shorter stature, lower set ears, almond-shaped eyes. Of course, that's a common one that people think of. But speech therapy, a cognitive delay, of course. Speech is also a difficult thing for people with Down syndrome. It can have to do with the height of the roof of the mouth, the thickness of the tongue. Different things play into that with different people, and some struggle more than others, but a lot of people with Down syndrome do have a tendency to have trouble with speech. So what our group has made a big priority is to get more speech therapy for our individuals. And so, for instance, at the end of last summer, we offered 12 speech therapy sessions for any individual in our group who wanted to take advantage of that, which was amazing because speech therapy is very expensive. Sometimes insurances do not always cover it. And honestly, the amount of speech therapy that kids are getting in school is not enough. Kids with Down syndrome tend to have short-term memory, so we really need to work hard to get from the short-term to the long-term memory, and so we need frequent and intense in whatever thing we're doing, whether it's swimming lessons or learning to read or learning to talk clearly even. And so that was a great benefit that our group was able to provide for whoever wanted to partake in that. And the Bazillions concert is going to be a great way to raise money for more speech therapy. Another thing that we do is on March 21st, we have a World Down Syndrome Day celebration. So the reason we have that on March 21st is because March is the third month and the 21st stands for the 21st chromosome. So trisomy 21 is a triplication of the 21st chromosome, and that's what results in Down syndrome. And so on March 21st, or 3/21, we celebrate World Down Syndrome Day. And the last couple of years we've done that with a big party at Chuck E. Cheese. And so there'll be another big party coming this March 21st. And so we invite the public to come out there again too and just meet their friends and neighbors who have Down syndrome and celebrate their abilities and things they're doing. So
that is absolutely wonderful. So speaking of other things, you had people there at the walk, a lot of people there. Tell us a little bit again about, you reach out and you support. If there's a young couple that have just had a child and it's diagnosed with Down, what kind of emotions do they go through, and then how soon is it that a group like yours can step in and help, and how does that connection happen?
Well, there's a huge range of emotions that people go through after they find out their baby has Down syndrome, whether it's prenatally or in the delivery room when baby's born. Of course, like I said, we found out right when Ruby Ann was born, and so immediately I just got a vision in my head of a big family picture on the wall that included a little girl who had Down syndrome. And I thought, well, that's what our family picture looks like for now. And right now we have to get her breathing. So again, like I said, Down syndrome was very secondary, but a lot of people go through a grieving process. A lot of people are very frustrated. A lot of people feel like their dreams have died for this child, and things are going to be devastating right off the bat. This whole range of emotions is going on. There's a poem called A Trip to Holland that talks about you had this trip planned and you were going to plan on going to Holland. However, when you get there, you get off the plane and you realize you're in a different country. So it's not horrible there, but it's not the place you planned on going. And so that's kind of the same thing that they, analogize to Down syndrome. It's not horrible, but when you get there, it's not where you thought you were going when you started off. Once that baby starts, growing and developing, and you realize, this is a much better trip than I had planned anyways. It comes with its own set of trips to the doctor and therapy and different things that come along with it, but it's certainly not bad. So,
a lot of emotions. How does the connection take place with a group like yours with that young couple?
What we have done, shortly after Ruby Ann was born, I thought we need to have something that we are reaching families with in the hospital right when the baby comes. Because, of course, the hospital can't call us and let us know there's been a new baby born so that we can get involved ourselves. Right. So what we decided to do is to put together these baby bags that we had handmade and filled with all sorts of wonderful baby items, not necessarily screaming Down syndrome, but to let them know that we are here. Unfortunately, when you have a baby with Down syndrome, people meet you in the hospital with more, I'm sorry. Instead of, congratulations, you have a beautiful new baby girl, it's, how horrible, how I'm sorry. And that's just such a devastating thing. Parents don't need to hear that when their baby's born. And so the gift from our organization, the Down Syndrome Association of Wisconsin, is a bag full of baby gifts, baby items, baby books. There's a pamphlet for organization. There's some things in there regarding Down syndrome, but more of it is congratulations, you have a new baby, and we hope you get in touch with us soon. So we offer that gift to them in the hospital that the hospital staff provides them, and then hopefully they make a contact to reach out to us soon. We have our ways we tend to find out when there's a new baby born, and so we try and reach out, or somebody will say, oh, I know a friend who just had a baby, and so we try and reach out. But every family is sort of on their own time frame of when they're ready to reach out and to talk to other people. Some it's sooner than others, some it takes a while for them to feel like they want to reach out and get involved. But once they do, they jump in with both feet and are excited to be part of our group. So,
What role does the government, whether it be at the local level, the state level, or the federal level, help as far as stepping up and helping people that have kids with Down?
There is an organization or a group through the county called Birth to Three, which handles children with all range of disabilities. So once your baby is born, you can be put in contact with them through the hospital and start to receive services for your child that can have to do with early physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, different things that your child can receive in your home until they turn 3 years old. And then they could attend early childhood education at that point.
Okay.
So,
great. Do you have a website? Do you want to give a website out here so that people can go to your website and learn more about Down, and also maybe contribute, help out financially? I know there's so many people, so many caring people out here that want to help.
There is a website. It's called the Down Syndrome Association of Wisconsin, dsawlacrosse.org.
Well, Rachel, let's talk about the history of Down syndrome and how people were treated prior to 1980.
Okay, well, I have kind of an interesting personal connection to that. I actually had an aunt who was born with Down syndrome, but she was born in 1943, and of course back in 1943 it wasn't even known as Down syndrome, it was known as mongoloidism. The characteristics of Down syndrome were not characterized until about 1956 by a doctor named Dr. John Langdon Down, and he's the one who characterized all the different characteristics from the almond-shaped eyes to larger space between the first two toes to shorter stature to different things, and called it, oddly enough, after his own name. It became Down syndrome. After my daughter Ruby Ann was born, I was reading a book from a young lady who had Down syndrome, and she said, I wish the name of the doctor would have been named Dr. Up, because I'm an up person, I'm not a down person. And so my aunt was born and never, oddly enough, put in this box labeled Down syndrome, because she, at that point, which is odd, because in 1943, they would have encouraged people to put her in an institution. But she was brought home. She lived with my grandma and grandpa on the farm until she was 64 years old, actually. And she went to school, in the elementary school in Winona. My grandpa was the bus driver. She had an awesome, amazing life, because she was never given that label, and she was never said, you know, you could never accomplish this, you can't do certain things. She learned how to ride a bike and type on a typewriter and do lots of great things. But what was odd, when my daughter was born, I was talking to my grandma and said, why, I think we should be tested. I think that we should find out for sure, because she has thyroid problems, she's short, she has this different thing, she has a hole in her heart, different things that were all, I was learning characteristics of Down syndrome. And my grandma said, you know, they have that written in her chart at the hospital, but the doctors had never mentioned the words Down syndrome to her. So that was very odd. Unfortunately, in our country, since my Aunt Bee was born, you would think we've come a long ways with education and different things, but it's really been in the last 20 to 25 years that more research is being done and more progress is being made in advanced therapies and different things to help kids get along earlier in life versus just having them go through school and be in the special ed room and not be included. Kids are included in the classroom now. They have amazing potential. I always look at my daughter every day and go, you are just a great big bundle of potential. I wonder what you're going to show me today. I don't want anyone to ever put her in that box labeled Down syndrome with a glass ceiling that says, you know, you're only going to be able to do so much. We don't know if you'll be able to do X, Y, or Z. So the research has come a long way, and the opportunities for kids with Down syndrome, people with Down syndrome in general, after they're through high school, is really increasing. In fact, this summer we went to a conference by a gal named Libby Kuhlman, who is world-renowned speech therapist, and a new career opportunity for people with Down syndrome is actually in technology and working on computers. And what's amazing about that, which just gave me goosebumps, is thinking that when you're talking to someone on the phone, or you're having to deal with a computer issue, you can't visually look at that person and judge them based on what they're doing. And so they have amazing abilities on the computer and with technology. So that was just really exciting.
Very good. Stanford University has been doing research for some time on Down syndrome and others. Can you talk about the research being done a little bit and some of the therapies that are being applied today?
Thankfully, there is a lot more research being done right now. Stanford University is one of them. The other great thing is that, my daughter is 7.5, and when she was born, as well as some of the other families I know who had kids at that point, we were looking for research, looking for books, and everything was outdated. It was just frustrating because you'd think in 2007, when our kids were born, we wouldn't be running into outdated information with the internet, with things available. Even in the last 7 years, it's amazing the growth in research and parent advocates out there. There are so many parent advocates on the internet doing research and providing research to us parents. There's a gal who has one called DS Blogspot, DS Today Blogspot. And she is amazing. She's recorded therapies that she's done with her own child, and thyroid research is huge as well. A lot of children with Down syndrome are born with thyroid problems. A lot of it isn't diagnosed immediately, and my daughter, in fact, just this summer was diagnosed with thyroid problems. So she made it 7 years before her diagnosis was out there. But thyroid, if left untreated, and even in a typically developing person, can result in cognitive delay and different things. And so in our people with Down syndrome, it's even more important to diagnose that thyroid problem earlier. So there's another great foundation called Changing Minds Foundation, which is doing great research and taking things that parents have done with their children and advocating and putting the research together to help parents just in our own homes go out and be able to find the research if it's not available nationally or in the more traditional places we think we can find reliable research. Parents are an amazing resource. The parents just in our area, in our support group, have been an amazing resource to me individually, and as other parents get together and we chat and share information about different things, different protocols. In fact, one of the things I've been working on since my child, we homeschooled for years, and recently we've enrolled our kids in the school, and one of my new goals is to get all of the special educators in the Cooley region together so that we're not having to reinvent the wheel. It's like, what is the best math program you found? What's the best reading program? What's the best behavior issues you're working on, so that we can work together as a community and not each individual school district work individually. I think I mentioned the number of babies with Down syndrome who've been born just recently in our area is very large, and so what that means as school districts is there are going to be multiple kids with Down syndrome in multiple school districts. Traditionally, there may be 1 or 2 that goes through every 3 to 5 years, but now we're going to be having multiple kids in multiple school districts at the same time. So very exciting. Also is going to give teachers a bigger opportunity to work specifically with kids with Down syndrome. I know the teacher my daughter has is amazing. He's always asking for more resources, or do you know anything else that could help me? And very open to learning new things. So that's one of my goals as a parent advocate, which is what you become when you have a child with Down syndrome, is you become their #1 cheerleader and advocate in trying to get the therapies and the things that they need to make their life as successful as it can be.
Well, that's great to hear that the schools are so helpful. There's some great teachers out here, and I've personally met so many of them, and it's just great, and that they want to learn more and be more helpful. That's awesome. So this has been a very informative program here, Rachel, and maybe we can end a little bit about talking about your personal experience a little bit more and what you're doing day to day and how you're helping your daughter.
Great. Like I said, my daughter's name is Ruby Ann. She's 7.5. And basically, I have something that I call the trifecta for success that I encourage all new families to get into and get involved with their child with Down syndrome. And the first being speech therapy, early and intense. What they get in birth to 3 is a great start, but you can't have too much speech therapy. You can't have too much fun, and you can't have too much speech therapy when you have a child with Down syndrome. So speech has been amazing for us. Another great thing is there's a resource in our community, Life in Harmony Music Therapy. And Amy is the owner. Her office is right in West Salem. And my daughter's had music therapy with Amy since she was 2. And so people say, what's better, speech or music? And they're both amazing. I can't even separate it. Music puts a hook on things. makes things stick into their long-term memory. My daughter could sing the names of her siblings before she could say them. She's learning how to sing her address right now. We work on goals together with our speech teacher to make her be able to say things and work on specific endings or starts to words. And also swimming. The YMCA has been an amazing resource for our family as well, and Ruby-Ann has taken swimming lessons there for the last 2.5 years. And so we started innocently enough just doing a swimming lesson thinking, oh, swimming will be great for our daughter. And what the great thing we found out about that was not only did it strengthen her body, but it gave her better breath control in the water, which strengthened her diaphragm, which encouraged her speech. So that was something that we just thought, wow, this isn't something we expected from swimming, but a great thing we got. So the teachers, the therapists, the people who have been involved in her life have all been amazing, and we've been so blessed to have all of them placed in our lives. So Down syndrome comes with all of its joys, its excitement, ups and downs and going through different things. It also comes with a lot of miles on the van because we go to a lot of therapies, we go to swimming lessons, we go to music lessons, we go to speech lessons, we go to different events and things regarding Down syndrome, but it's all good.
That's great. When your daughter in school, how old is she now?
She's in first grade, she's 7.
She's in first grade. Maybe you can tell the audience a little bit about how the other children in the class interact and how that works. Tell us a little bit about the education process that takes place with her classmates.
Sure. She is going to West Salem Elementary School, and this year she's in a looping class. So in kindergarten, she has the same classmates that she has in first grade. They looped into the next class with the same teacher. So that was really great for her because the classmates all were familiar with her from last year to this year. And the great thing is she spends a majority of her day in her classroom. She just goes out with her special ed teacher named Kevin for reading and math help. The rest of the day she spends in her class. And so when she started school, her music teacher made a song, a hello song for all the names of the kids in her class, and she learned it just very quickly because she was singing it, and then she can take that in and share with the kids in class as well and sing all their names, and they got to participate in that new song too. So they all love her, they embrace her, they know that she's going to probably give them a hug and maybe want to give them a kiss. We're working on that part daily, and she participates, she raised her hand. Last week she got to be queen for the day one day, and
awesome.
and all the kids asked her questions about favorite things and different stuff, and so she really enjoys her classmates and going to school. So
that's awesome. Again, great information. Let's talk as we wrap up here. Let's just remind the audience as to how they can get involved with Down syndrome and support and help. And then let's mention a couple websites that we have again, and then we'll end it.
Okay, well, locally, you can find out more about our local group, the Down Syndrome Association of Wisconsin, Children of the Heart, Greater La Crosse Area, by our website, dsawlacrosse.org. And then nationally, or with parent resources, you can look up the Changing Minds Foundation. You can also look up DS Today Blogspot for great information from parents themselves, putting information on the internet so that we can educate ourselves more.
So what do you need from the public?
Support, love, encouragement when they see our kids. You know, unfortunately, looking at their face, you're going to make a judgment. You're going to see Down syndrome first. Get to know people. Don't refer to the kids as Down syndrome kids. Refer to them by their names, because Down syndrome certainly doesn't define them. It's their name that defines them. And they are amazing people, kids or adults, to get to know and to become part of their lives. And so look at our website to find more resources, and then just reach out, get to know them, and you'll find out how amazing they are.
Well, this has been, again, a very great program. Thank you, Rachel, for being with us and informing us on Down syndrome. And for the audience, stay tuned for another exciting program with The Old Bob Show.